Hello everybody and welcome to the Carlam Cymru revision sessions. This session will focus on the intermediate tier maths GCSE and will be presented by Mr. Alan Walters from Gallopin School. The session will last around 45 minutes where Mr. Walters will run through the relevant subject content. If you have any questions during the session, please use the question and answer section within this live event and we'll do our best to answer your questions. The session will be recorded and the recording and any relevant resources will be uploaded to the e-sgol website under the Carlam Cymru tab. Thank you, Mr. Walters. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Jones. So I'm going to do a webinar today on Venn diagrams. So a webinar means that you can pause the video anytime you wish and play when you're ready to move on. Okay, so just remember that you can pause anytime you wish and press play when you're ready to move on. So I'm going to start off with these. If I asked you to list the factors of 12, you would list all the numbers that divide into 12. So I'll start off with a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 6, and then don't forget 12 itself. And if I asked you for the first 5 multiples of 4, they are your multiplication tables of 4. So you've got 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. Okay, and the first 5 square numbers, when you multiply a whole number by itself, the answer is a square number. So the first 5 square numbers are 1, 4, 9, 16, and last is 5 5s are 25. Okay, so we'll use that a bit later on. When you look at Venn diagrams, they normally come up with pictures like that. So you often have 2 or 3 circles inside a box. Now, the shade, you're sometimes asked exam questions to indicate what that shading represents. So you've got the letter A and the letter B. And if you had an intersection of A and B, that is something that is common to A and B, it would be that area that is indicated in green. Okay, and the intersection of A and B looks like that. The next one is called the union, when you're adding everything inside A and B together, and the union would look like that. And the last one is the shading. The yellow shading is for everything outside of the circle represented by A. Okay, and that would be A complement. I've actually written them here for you. Okay, so if you just think about that for a minute, you will have exam questions on those. So more on that a bit later on. I'm going to look at some typical questions, and this one here, a group of students are asked whether they can speak French, Spanish, or both languages, or neither language. Okay, the answers are shown in the Venn diagram. Okay, and this is what you would do. We can tell there's 15 students because if we add the 6 and the 2 and the 4 and the 3, there are 15 students. Okay, so everybody in the survey amounts to 15 students. Underneath, if I ask you how many students speak both French and Spanish, so they're in the Spanish class, or they do French and they do Spanish, there's 2 of them. It's the intersection, the green that I highlighted above. Okay, so the answer to this one, you would write down how many students do French and Spanish. You would say 2, and you would get the information from there. If I asked you how many students can speak French and Spanish, okay, can speak French, sorry, or Spanish, so that means they can speak French, they can speak French and Spanish, or they can just speak Spanish. You would add those 3 values and you're able to say that the people who speak French or Spanish are 6 and 2 and 4, giving you 12. 12 people speak French or Spanish. Okay, there we are. And the last question, if I said to you, how many students do not speak French, okay, who do not speak French, they are the complement of this circle here. Everyone, every value outside of the French circle. So you add up the 4 and the 3. Okay, so there are 4 people that purely speak Spanish and 3 people who do not speak either of the language. So there's a total of 7 people who speak who do not speak French. Okay, I'm going to do this example now. I have a list of numbers, and they are the universal set. Is sometimes called, the numbers are from 1 to 5 inclusive. So we're going to fill this Venn diagram in, and the way to start that off is, what I often do is I write down underneath or by the side the factors of 15 are 1, 3, and 5. Now there's a factor 15, but that's not in this universal set, so I'm going to take that off. The factors of 15 from that list are just 1, 3, and 5. The square numbers that appear in that list, 1 times 1 is a square number called 1, and the next one is 2 times 2 is 4, so 4 is also a square number. Okay, that is on that list. So now it's a case of placing the values in the circles and outside the circles. So what I look for first of all is what is common to both these lists, and the number 1 appears on the top and the bottom. So therefore it's an intersection of factors of 15 and the square numbers. From the top line, factors of 15, I'm left with a 3 and a 5, which I'm going to put in. They are 3 and 5, they're factors of 15, but they are not a square number. From the bottom line, the square numbers, there's a square number there, 4, but it's not a factor of 15. So then I look at all of these values and I think, is there anything missing? So I'm going to go through them. I've got a 1, there isn't a 2. So the 2 is not a factor of 15 and it's not a square number. So therefore I put 2 outside. Let's just check. I've got 3 there, I've got 4, and I've got 5. And it's always worth doing that to see if you've accounted for every value. Right, one for you to try. Remember now, what I think is wise is that you list down, list down the, so once again, the universal set is numbers 1 to 5. You list down the square numbers. You list down the even numbers. I'm hoping you know what an even number is. And then look for what's common to write in the intersection, and you fill in the extra sections there. So if you wish now, pause the screen, have a go at it, and then play. So the square numbers from that universal set of 1 to 5 should be 1 and 4. The even numbers should be 2 and 4. So I'm looking what is common to both, and the number that is common to the 2 lists is the number 4. So therefore I put 4 in the center. I'm left with, for the square numbers, I'm left with the number 1. So that goes on the left there with square numbers, and on the right hand side I'm left with the number 2. So that goes in that circle. And then I got to look what else have I missed. So I'll go through it. I've got the number 1, I've got the number 2, I haven't got the number 3. So that is neither a square number or an even number, so it goes outside. I've got the number 4 in the intersection, and the number 5 is missing, so I need to put 5 out there. So I've accounted for every single value, all 5 of them. Okay, and that's the end of that question. So if you want to look at it more closely, pause the screen. There's another question here. I'd like you to try that question. See if I can, there we are. So it's Welsh and French speakers. Sorry, we're not in a position to try this yet. Oh, yes, you are. Right. So pause the screen and try that question. Try and answer them, part A and part B. Okay, if I look at part A, how many pupils cannot speak French? So it's everyone outside of the circle for French. So it includes this 8 and this 1, because the French speakers are inside that circle. So it's 8 and 1, giving us an answer of 9. Part B, 1 pupil is chosen at random. What's the probability? Now, the probability they want as a fraction. What's the probability that a pupil can speak both Welsh and French? Okay, so both Welsh and French. So that's the intersection. We're on about these 3 pupils. 3 pupils can speak Welsh and French. And if we add up all the numbers, 8 and 3 and 2 and 1, we've got a total of 14. So the probability that they can speak both Welsh and French is 3 over 14. Okay. On to another question. Okay, this is a problem-solving question. There's 2 ways of looking at this question. I'm going to ask you to pause the screen in a moment, but I am going to look at, I'll just give you a little clue as to what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to look at the number of pupils who pay for tablets and the number of people who pay for covers, and I'm going to keep them separate, and then I'm going to get a total. So I'd like you to try those questions. I think you can use a calculator if you so wish, but you need to break this down. It was a 5-mark question in one of the exams of recent years. Okay, so see if you can come up with a total price. If you're going to add things, make sure you show the add up sign, and see if you can separate things off with titles and pound signs. Okay, so I would advise you to pause the screen and play when you're ready. Okay, if you've paused the screen and you've given yourself enough time to try it, this is how you should answer it, or one of the ways you could answer it. I've chosen to work with looking at the tablets and then the covers. So the tablets amount to 55 and 48. Okay, giving us a total of 103. The covers amount to the 48 there, and the 14. So that amounts to 62. So these are the number of tablets and the number of covers. I haven't combined them, as some people often look at this separately, but that's another way. The cost of the tablets is this 103 tablets, and I multiply it by, it tells me here, each tablet is sold for 220. So I'd multiply that by 220, and you would get your calculator out, and you end up with 22,660. The cost of the covers, there's 62 covers, and each cover is £18. When I tap that out to my calculator, I get £1,116. Okay, so I kept the cost of the tablets and the covers separate. So if I want a total cost, it's important, very, very important, that you show a big plus sign there, because if you do add them up incorrectly, at least the examiner can give you a method mark, because it's a full method when you put a plus. So if you forget that plus and you add them up incorrectly, you get 0 for that section. But anyway, adding these up, we get 23,776. Okay, and that's a 5-mark question. So pause the screen if you want to more of a look at that. I'll move on to the next question. Okay, another problem-solving question. Couple of things to highlight here that you should be doing if you had this in front of you. Probability that they speak both German and Spanish is a third, and there are 30 students in total. So I'd like you to try that question and pause the screen, and when you're ready to resume, I'll give you the answer. So if you've had enough time to do that, this is the starting point. You've got 30 students, and I'm trying to find out how many go in the centre there. So it's saying the probability that a student chose both German and Spanish is a third. So if I say a third of 30, I've got 10. So 10 students should go in the centre there. Question tells me there's 30 students in total. So what I should then do is say 30, take away the 17 plus the 10, and if you want to, there's a 0 here. Right? There's no need to put that in. So 30, take away 27, tells me that there's 3 students who purely speak Spanish. Okay. And that's the answer to that question. We'll look at another one. Okay. Right. 30 rugby supporters travel to Cardiff on a coach, so I'm going to highlight 30. They decide to investigate how many of them can sing one or both of the songs. Hen Wlad Fy Nadau and Bread of Heaven. Okay, so 12 people say they can sing both. 18 people say they can sing Bread of Heaven. And five people say they cannot sing either of the songs. Okay, 5 people say they cannot sing either of the songs. So what I want you to do now is whatever calculations you feel necessary to fill in the Venn diagram, and then there's a couple of questions underneath. So I'll write 30 up here because I don't want to reduce the size of the text. There's 30, 30 students. So what I'd like you to do then is pause the screen and try that question. Okay, if you're ready to resume, I'll try and answer the question for you. So we start off with right. 12 say they can sing both songs, so I would put 12 in the centre, and that'll probably get you a mark. 18 say they can sing Bread of Heaven. Now, Bread of Heaven is everyone inside this circle there. So everyone inside that circle should amount to 18. So it's a simple take away sum. 18, take away the 12, and you're left with 6. Now, a lot of people put 18 in there, but if you did put 18 in there, you then have 18 and 12. You've got 30 people singing Bread of Heaven, and that's not what the question says. The question says 18 people sing Bread of Heaven. Okay. So we're up to that point. Okay. Down the bottom, it says 5 people cannot sing either song. So you need to put 5 outside of the 2 circles. And then the only bit to work out now is the people that can only sing Hen Wlad Fy Nadau. Okay, so what we need to do is there's a total of 30 students. So we say 30, take away, and I'm going to add up all the values I can see, 12 and 6 and 5. So I'm taking away 23, and that tells me I'm left with 7. And that 7 can go in here for Hen Wlad Fy Nadau. Okay. So there's a question down the bottom, part B. What is the probability? So we need a fraction that a person can sing Hen Wlad Fy Nadau. So I have not asked you how many people can only sing Hen Wlad Fy Nadau. I've asked you for a probability of how many people sing Hen Wlad Fy Nadau. So the total is this 7 and this 12. So I say 7 plus 12 is the total. And the total number of people in the survey is 30. So the probability is the total of everyone who can sing Hen Wlad Fy Nadau is 19 and over 30. So that is a probability with a numerator and a denominator. Okay. We'll move on to the next question. Pause and have a look at that in more detail if you so wish. So with this question, it's about highlighting certain things again. 34 pupils in a class. Someone's carried out a survey to see how many of these pupils take part in swimming, running or judo. He displays his results in the Venn diagram as shown below. So there's all the information. Now, some people will purely do swimming. Some people will do running and swimming on its own. Some people will do running, swimming and judo, which might be that. But let's go and have a look at this question. It asks how many pupils take part in both. In actual fact, you try that question now and pause the screen when you're ready. Part A and B. Okay, let's have a look at these. The first question, how many pupils take part in both judo and running? Okay, so judo is there, running is there, both judo and running is that 3 and that 1. Okay, it's the intersection of the judo and the running. Yes, these 3 people also do swimming, but the question is asking how many people take part in both judo and running. They haven't said exclusively or only judo and running, they just said both judo and running. So it's a case of adding 3 and 1. 4 people take part in judo and running. The next question, how many pupils take part in swimming? Okay, so for swimming, it's everyone inside of the circle for swimming. Right, so everyone inside here. So it's adding up all those values. Okay, so that's what I'll do now. I'll say 9 and 5 and 3 and 4. Okay, 14, 17, 21. 21 people take part in purely just take part in swimming. The next question, how many pupils do not take part in judo? So that's everyone outside of this circle here, judo. Everyone outside of that. So I'm going to add up the 9 and the 5 and the 6 and the 4. And I believe that comes to 24. And then there's a percentage question. Okay, so we've had probability questions. There's a percentage question here now. Calculate the percentage of pupils who do not take part in swimming, running or judo. Correct to 1 decimal place. Do not take part in anything. So these 4 pupils do not take part in anything. When you work out the percentage with a calculator, you use the value that you select over the total. The total is 34. We worked it out, or it's given to you up here, 34 pupils. And to change a fraction into a percentage, you multiply it by 100. Now, that will get you 1 mark. And then the second mark will be to round this up correctly. So you need to perhaps use the fraction key on the calculator. Often looks like that. So you end up getting 11.76, something. We want our answer to 1 decimal place. So I have to go with 11.7 or 11.8. Now the 6 pushes the 7 up. So the answer to 1 decimal place is 11.8%. And a lot of people don't end up rounding it to 1 decimal place. So it's an easy mark on begging. The next question, there it is. I'm going to highlight a couple of things. 28 students taking biology, chemistry and physics. So I'll come down the page slightly. In actual fact, I'll zoom in. Right, I'll write 28 students here rather than. Okay, and then the things I've highlighted, 5 students only study biology, 13 students study chemistry. That's 13 students in total. So see if you can fill in the gaps. And once you've filled in the gaps, try and answer those questions, B and C. There is a question D further down, but just try and answer B and C for the moment. So pause the screen and try them. Okay, this is what you should have done if you're ready to resume. It tells us there's 13 students only sit in chemistry, so that value there is missing. So I'm going to say 13, take away the 2 and the 6 and the 1. And 13, take away 9 is 4. So I'm going to put 4 in there. Okay. It tells us 5 students study only biology. So I write that in. There's no calculation needed because these 3 students here study biology and physics and so on. But these are the people, 5 of them, that only study biology. So there's a gap here for physics. And what we need to do now is we know there's 28 students. So if we've got 0 there. So if we add up everything, so if we add up, say 28, take away, if we add up the 5 and the 2 and the 1 and the 4 and the 6 and the 3, 7, 8, 12, 18, 21. If I take away, if I say 28 is the total of everything, and there's 21 accounted for, I'm left with 7. And 7 would fit in there for people only studying physics. Okay. So to answer the questions, how many students study biology and chemistry but not physics? Okay, so by here, biology and chemistry but not physics. Okay, so I'll try and indicate the area for you. It's basically everything. I'm gonna, sorry, I've done that incorrect. Sorry, just go back. Right, biology and chemistry, I won't try and highlight, but not physics. And those 5, these 2, and that 1. Okay, so the people that study biology and chemistry, but not. Let me just check something there a second. Yes, there we are. Right. Trying to explain that better to you. Sorry. So the people that study biology and chemistry, but not physics. Now, the people who study biology and chemistry are the 5, the 2, and the 1. Sorry, just this 2 rather. So the answer to that is 2. Because the people, yeah, these 5 people here only study biology. I want people who study biology and chemistry, right? And the critical word is and. If I said biology and chemistry and physics, I would include these 6. But the answer to our question is 2, biology and chemistry only. And the answer is 2. Okay. The next question, the probability that these students study biology. Okay. So I'm looking for the number of students who study biology, and they are the 3, the 6, the 4, and the 7. So if I add those 3, okay, and the total number of students is 28. So everything inside this circle here are the people who study I think I misread that. Yes, I have. Right, go back to it. You've got to be very careful when you read these. Right. 4 in there and a 7 there. Okay. What's the probability that students study biology? And I was going for physics. Okay. So it's once again, it's over 28 because 28 is the total. The people that study biology are these on the left here. So it's the 5, the 2, the 6, and the 3. The 5 plus the 2 plus the 6 plus the 3. So I've got 7 and 6 is 13, 16. So I've got 16 pupils who study biology, everyone inside the biology circle, over 28. Okay, so be very, very careful not to fall into misreading it as I did. Okay, so if you want to pause and look at that, pause and look at it now. I'm going to move on. Right. A lot of information there, but it's basically the same sort of questions we're asked. Okay. Rian carried out a survey before an international rugby match. She asked a number of Welsh supporters how they travelled to the match. Rian displayed her results in the Venn diagram as shown. Obviously, some people travel by perhaps bus and car. Some people perhaps would travel by bus and train and possibly by taxi or whatever. Okay, so there's a number of questions underneath I'd like you to try. So if you pause the screen, I'll try and make it slightly bigger. Yeah. So pause the screen, have a go at them. I'll show you in a moment. Okay. So the first question, if you're ready to resume, how many of the pupils, of the supporters rather, travelled by both train and taxi? Now that's indicated, train is here and the taxi's there, so it's the 7 and the 1. That's the answer. Question B, how many of the supporters' journeys included travel by car? So when I'm talking about people travelling by car, it's everyone inside this circle here. So I'm adding up the 102, the 24, the 1, the 3, the 15, and the 35. So I'm going to attempt to do that here. Okay, so 102 plus 35 plus 15 plus 3 plus 1 plus 24. And then when you add them all up, I've previously done it, it's 180. Okay. Question C, calculate the percentage. So we're going to have to do like the calculations above of the number of supporters in the survey whose journeys did not include travel by car, bus, train or taxi. So it's these 15. The people that probably just walked to the stadium. So 15 out of, you would add up all those numbers, and all those numbers come to 403. And to change a fraction to a percentage, you multiply by 100. And then you tap that out in your calculator, and you end up getting 3.7% when you do round it to 1 decimal place. Okay, pause the screen if you want a closer look at that. I'm going to move on. So going back to the sort of questions we had at the beginning, I want you to place those values 1 to 10 in the Venn diagram. So once again, I would suggest you list out the even numbers. And the even numbers are 2. So pause the screen and try it. I'm going to go through the answer now. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. The multiples of 5 from that list are just 5 and 10. The factors of 15 are 1, 3, 5, and 9. And there is nothing common to all of them. So I can't put anything in the center there. There's nothing goes in there. However, if I look at things individually now, if I look at the even numbers and the multiples of 5, these exist. The number 10 is an even number and it's a multiple of 5, so I'm going to put 10 in there. Okay. If I look at the even numbers and the factors of 15, even numbers are there, factors of 15 are there. There's nothing to go in that spot. Okay, but you shouldn't put a cross in there. Okay. If I'm looking at multiples of 5 and factors of 45, multiples of 5 and factors of 45, factors of 15 rather, are 5. There's a 5 there and a 5 there, so therefore that goes into that spot there. Okay, I'm going to fill in these areas now. So the even numbers I haven't used here are 2, 4, 6, and 8. The factors of 45, should I say, the factors of 45 are the ones I haven't used are 1, 3, and 9. Okay, and if I go through this list, the number that I have not included in anything is the number 7, so I put that there. Okay, answer the questions fairly quickly. Find the probability that the numbers selected is an even number. There are 5 even numbers out of 10. The one underneath, a multiple of 5 that is not a factor of 45. And there it is. That's what we're after. The one number out of 10. It's a multiple of 5, and it's not a factor of 45, so it's 1 over 10. And not a multiple of 5, and not a factor of 45. Okay, and that again is 1 over 10. Not a multiple of 5, and not a factor of 45. Okay, oh sorry, not a multiple of 5, not a factor of 45, and not an even number. Okay, so that's basically the number 7 we're on about there. So once again, one value out of 10. Okay, so I'm going to set, there's a few more questions underneath which I'll post for you with the solutions to go with them. But in summary, I better summarize at this stage. A couple of things for you to remember. Okay, add all the numbers in the Venn diagram to find out how many people and things it represents. Okay, so you've got to total everything up. If you're drawing a Venn diagram, remember to label the circles and draw the box outside. So these might be factors of 15 or multiples of 10. Make sure that you remember what factors, multiples and squares are, because they often come up in the exams. I gave you these at the beginning. That's the intersection, that's the union, and this is the complement of A, everything outside of A. Okay, so I hope that was useful, and I hope to see you in the future. Thank you very much.